How does social media affect ethics? Wonderful question. To approach this question, we have to define what ethics are. What are ethics? The study of right and wrong, based off of what? Morality. So it doesn't matter how you define right or wrong. The truth is that you live in a country that has a justice system that was founded and built upon principles that were mostly and inherently Judeo and Christian. So the country in which we live, in which we reside, was founded upon and based its roots in morals, the study of right and wrong as defined most likely and most inherently through the Bible. So now that we understand, we have some sort of sense of cultural morality, that there is objectionable right and objectionable wrong. How does social media affect that? Well, it affects it in a tremendous amount of ways. Essentially, all of them horrendously negative. But perhaps the primary way in which it does this is the normalization of extremely off the rails, off the walls views. It normalizes and even goes as far as to accept and encourage morally, objectionably bad things. And so you're sitting there asking yourself, what does he mean by that? Well, I'll bring to you two extremes. Two extremes, one on this side and one on this side. And the first name that I'll drop that you are already aware of is Andrew Tate. Now that's a name that you can drop that, man, that will get people fired up, won't it? Well, he says some things that are objectionably bad. Very bad. Very objectionably bad. And it doesn't matter how you want to argue it, they're just bad. And everybody knows that. But what happens when people like him get a mass of following? Well, all of a sudden, through the means of social media, these people, these young kids, these young boys, these young teenagers, they're getting this feed, and they're hearing this message over and over and over again. Whether that message is misogynistic or that message is to be some sort of alpha male and to put everything else down and to screw everybody else over because the only thing that's important is your personal financial success. That's a terrible message. That's objectionably bad. We shouldn't celebrate that. We shouldn't push that. And social media is a platform in which messages like that can spread like wildfire. And so on the flip side of that coin, on the other extreme, it doesn't take too much time on TikTok brain rot to see some individual who is out there advertising the fact that they have multiple personality disorder. It doesn't take too much time on TikTok to scroll through and find an individual who is sort of advertising the fact that they have X, Y, and Z mental illnesses. And they're not sort of approaching those mental illnesses to bring awareness to them. No, they're advertising the fact that they have those mental illnesses and that's a good thing. That's objectionably bad. That's morally unhinged. That's terrible. Because now you have young middle school girls who get that in their feed, who see that and go, oh, you know what, I was having a rough day the other day and all of a sudden I see these symptoms that this person said on social media, so it must mean that I have multiple personality disorder. Or it must mean that I have gender dysphoria. Or it must mean that I have this and that I struggle with that. Because I saw so-and-so posted on their social media feed. And because that's my source of primary information, because that's my source of gathering what's going on in the world, that becomes normalized. And all of a sudden you see the normalization of extreme views. Doesn't matter what side it's on. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if it's extreme right or extreme left. They're both bad. And then they're both equally harmful to our youth. And the problem is that it doesn't take more than 13 seconds on TikTok to get either one of those messages. And once you get one of those messages and you watch it, I can guarantee you that if you continue to scroll, it's all you're gonna get from then on out. And so all of a sudden, you start questioning your morals. You start questioning what's right and what's wrong. And now all of a sudden, well, you hate women, or you have 13 different personalities, or you're a furry. And it happened just through doing this over and over and over again. That's bad.
I think social media affects ethics in a really, really negative way. Looking back throughout my entire life, I can think about the ways in which social media has affected my ethics and confidently say that it's never improved it. The issue with social media is that it creates negative feedback loops, it creates echo chambers, where people that like certain posts will have the post added to the algorithm more times. And what it does is it creates, okay, it curates this feed of social media that's curated to what it is that you like and what it is that you think and what it is that you agree with. And so people will follow hashtags or social media influencers or social movements that only agree with what it is that they think. And so when their opinion gets fed, okay, well, everyone agrees with me and I'm only listening to people who agree with me, then their opinion is only going to get rapidly worse. It's going to become more polarized, it's going to become more extreme. And what it'll do is people will often jump on bandwagons, they'll jump on hate trains, they'll be so quick to sort of mob mentality. And so thinking back to something like the Black Lives Matter protests, while the cause of, hey, let's end racism, let's try and stop unfair racial discrimination against African American people, while the cause was great, the issue is that it very quickly exploded into violence because the hashtag of Black Lives Matter became this thing for people to bandwagon underneath to go out and just commit violent acts, not necessarily for the political cause of ending racism, but just because they're angry. And that's the issue with social media, is that it encourages anger, it encourages outrage, because that's what gets you likes, that's what gets you retweets, that's what gets you all the followers, because people start chasing approval instead of actually approaching moral righteousness. And so stuff can very quickly spiral out of control. People will jump onto hate because hate is easy. Complaining about everything that's going wrong in society is easy, but actually providing a diplomatic, probable solution is not hard. It is difficult. It's something that would be incredibly unpopular, and it wouldn't get you as many retweets, even though that's what probably would be better. And so the issue with social media and ethics is that they encourage outrage rather than moral righteousness.
Basically, I think that ethics and social media just don't go hand in hand. I think that they've caused us to lose a sense of humanity, and we can take this from two different routes. There's the way of just people forget that there's other people behind that screen, people hide behind the screen. You can also just take it from breaches of privacy. So if we go down the rabbit hole of other people behind the screen, I mean, we've seen for years, even before TikTok was huge, when it was just Instagram and Vine, the old things, that cyberbullying was big. And it's been big. I mean, you can go back to AIM messaging or whatever it was before our time. It's always been around, and that's harmful, So there's no one's arguing that social media is bad. And I think that ethically, especially with the rise of cancel culture, people just want to hate on others, and it takes away the sense of humanity that we have for others, because, how are you going to ruin someone's life over something they said? That's a bit much, But then, on the other hand, with breaches of privacy, that's huge right now. I mean, TikTok had a big settlement, I think it was a few years ago. TikTok's the big one that we've seen so many news articles about with breaches of privacy. I mean, they say, you read the terms and conditions, you agreed to this, it's fine that we sold your information to a third party. But let's be honest, everyone knows that no one's going to read those terms and conditions. That's taking advantage of people. And so there are a lot of flaws related to ethics and social media that I honestly don't know will ever be fixed. And it's kind of just the price you pay to download